The wax of a candle, the single ingredient that essentially makes a candle a candle. There's the fragrance oils, the wicks, the vessels, of course, that goes into candle making as well. But the wax is the lifeline, the glue that brings a candle to light, pun intended. And wax is what we'll be discussing today. The different variations of the most popular waxes in regards to the candle industry, and the pros and cons of each. And if I missed a detail, please feel free to let us know in the comments. There's so much to cover, so I may miss some things. The candle industry, it's vast, as you all may know by now, and in saying this, no two brands will be exactly alike. Each fragrance or candle house has this makeup of scents that best represents that particular brand in the best way possible. And those scents are accompanied by an aesthetic that's unique to that brand as well. Like the look of candle vessels, this will be best described as the DNA of the brand. And when it comes to the wax, this is an extremely important key ingredient that could ultimately make or break the scent, or DNA. While a candle technically wouldn't be a candle without wax, candle houses tend to spend a great deal of time researching and experimenting with many different waxes to find out what blend would be best for their scents so they can perform their best during the burning process. This is an essential part to the candle making process and can sometimes take years to perfect. Jo Malone, for example, their candle making process takes a few years to find the perfect wax composition for their candles. And this is just for one of their candle scents. Each and every one of their candle scents go through this rigorous process of adjusting the wax composition to make sure it's perfect for the specific fragrance oils of that particular scent. Another example is Trudon, which was founded in 1643 and considered to be the oldest candle house in the world. Throughout the 17th century, this house became the royal wax manufacturer and official supplier to the royal court. So it's safe to say they should have had enough time to perfect their wax DNA. And to think the first candles were made with tightly rolled papyrus dipped in rendered animal fat, also known as tallow wax. The humble beginnings of candles that were made from tallow suggestively started with the Romans. And since tallow was so cost effective and readily available, it was used for hundreds of years, lighting its way through many civilizations. Even though tallow-based candles aren't as popular in today's time, some candle makers still utilize this wax type for their candles. While I personally don't have any experience with tallow-based candles, I am aware of some very good benefits they can have. One of those benefits being truly handmade by artisans. Many candle makers that utilize this wax type usually source it from farms, which promotes a sense of sustainability. Which brings me to another great benefit of tallow. It's a natural, biodegradable, and renewable resource. Using tallow reduces waste by using a material that would have just been discarded anyways. This is a process that promotes good resourcefulness for the environment, where tallow candles are considered repurposed material, and at the same time supporting the local economy like farms. This can ultimately provide a sense of pride by making responsible and ethical choices. Also, depending on the animal fat that was used to make it, it's known to be a harder wax, meaning it has a higher melting point, which is great for longer burns. Now, with these very beneficial upsides, there are a couple downsides to using tallow wax. Again, I don't have any personal experience with this wax, but it is known to carry an odor. Some would describe this odor as unpleasant, but while others call it unpleasant, some would describe this odor as a feeling of warmth and comfort. Remember, tallow is made from rendered animal fat, so as the wax burns, it releases this peculiar scent. This peculiar smell happens because of the fatty acids that's found in the animal fat. Some candle makers that work with tallow can minimize this odor through a thorough purification process. Another unfortunate downside is that tallow is known to produce more smoke and soot than other wax variations, which is also a contributing factor to the unpleasant smell it's known to have. Even though this is typically from a lower quality tallow wax, it's still a risk factor, especially when burning indoors. Smoke and soot buildup alone is something no one wants to deal with. Unfortunately, I don't have any brand recommendations or candle makers that utilize tallow wax, but if you are interested in tallow wax candles, just make sure you're practicing proper burning techniques. Trimming the wick, making sure the candle is stored in a cool spot, and making sure the candle isn't burning too long to cut down on potential soot buildup. You will definitely have to stay on top of the maintenance. Tallow wax definitely has an interesting history in candle making, but it was quickly brushed aside by the upper class during the Middle Ages when beeswax elevated in popularity for candle making. Just like tallow wax, beeswax has also been in use for thousands of years, dating back to ancient Egypt, which is the first known example. The use of beeswax during this time was not only used to make candles, it was also used for embalming. Using beeswax for candles, of course, was adopted by other civilizations, such as the ancient Greeks and Romans, and by the Middle Ages, beeswax was seen as a luxury commodity with only the wealthy being able to afford it. This was due to the fact of beeswax being just an all-around better substance to use than other wax types. I would say the greatest benefit is the fact that it smelled a lot better than tallow wax, as beeswax is a natural sweet aromatic from the honey and flower nectar that's stored in the honeycomb. Aside from smelling 1,000 times better than tallow, there are many more benefits to utilizing beeswax. For one, it's known to be a 100% pure byproduct. This precious, naturally sweet substance is a renewable resource that's made without toxic chemicals, and it's even not toxic to produce since honeybees are doing most of the work. This is especially beneficial if you're prone to allergies or have any sensitivity to chemicals. Another great benefit to beeswax is that it burns brighter and longer. Just like tallow, beeswax is a harder wax as well, so it has one of the highest melting points of around 144 to 147 degrees, which helps with longer burns. Beeswax is one of the most sustainable ethical options when it comes to candle making, but it does have its downsides. Since it's a high quality natural substance, beeswax is an expensive material to source, so it's very hard to come by in scented candles. You will mostly find pure beeswax candles made by local candle makers or smaller candle brands. They would be more dedicated to providing either taper or pillar candles made from beeswax or small batches of scented candles made from beeswax. The first candle that comes to mind from a large luxury candle house that has a beeswax candle is Sear from Chudan. Incredible, naturally sweet-smelling candle in a beautiful red vessel. There's also Asta that utilizes a blend, mostly soy with a touch of beeswax. Boy Smells is also in the mix with their wax blend, including beeswax, coconut, and soy. I would really like to see more big candle houses utilize beeswax for its great benefits. Even a blend with another wax would be great as well. But then again, I don't need them coming in messing up the honeybee ecosystem. If you are interested in beeswax candles, I would definitely recommend visiting your local farmers markets so they can tell you about their process of making their candles. I would say it's a more hands-on approach to truly know where the candles are coming from since they are the actual source. Another downside to beeswax is the harvesting. Some may consider this practice to be cruel to the honeybees, but like I just said, if you can talk directly to the source, you may feel a little better knowing where and how it was sourced, as beeswax is one of those rare commodities that's still being produced naturally. For the most part, you won't be able to find beeswax or tallow-based candles unless you're actively looking for them. I feel it'll be difficult to stumble upon them in everyday life. Which brings me to probably the most popular wax type today, paraffin wax. Paraffin wax was introduced in 1830 by German chemist Karl von Reichenbach. This opened the floodgates to many uses for paraffin wax, including candles. By the 1850s, chemists learned how to separate and refine this naturally occurring substance from petroleum, and in turn, paraffin became the standard for candle makers. Paraffin production grew rapidly in the 19th century and became a staple in the candle industry, quickly replacing tallow and beeswax. One of those main reasons being the low cost to produce it. It's also a very stable wax that burns with consistency. It was a huge advantage for candle production. In addition to being cost effective, paraffin wax is known to hold fragrance the best out of all wax types. This provides a scented candle with more of a stronger performance when cold and when burning. This is due to the fact of paraffin holding on to the fragrance, helping with potency. Unlike tallow, which is known to have an unpleasant odor when burning, or beeswax, which is known to have a naturally sweet odor when burning, paraffin has little to no odor when burning. This is very beneficial in candle making where it doesn't interfere with the fragrance oils when burning, essentially keeping the scent integrity intact. It's also very common to see paraffin blended with other wax types such as soy or coconut wax for a higher quality candle where the paraffin is essentially used to hold on to the scent better for strong burn performance. There are a few different grades to paraffin wax as well, where each grade is best suited for certain types of applications based on the melting point and oil content. Three main grades known as high melting point, medium melting point, and low melting point. The low melting point is perfect for the everyday candle in a vessel with a melting point of below 130 degrees. The medium melting point is still good for everyday candles, but is also great for molded candles such as taper or pillar candles. This melting point is between 130 and 150 degrees. The high melting point is perfect for molded candles with a melting point of above 150 degrees. The oil in paraffin wax also plays a big part in the quality of the candle. Oil content below 0.5% is a fully refined paraffin and is suitable for food packaging and cosmetics, while a semi-refined paraffin is between 0.5 and 1.5%, and this is what you'll typically find in candle making. When it comes to scented paraffin wax candles, the higher the quality of the paraffin, the better. Diptyque and Jo Malone are great examples of home fragrance brands that use a higher grade paraffin for their candles with extraordinary scents. As good as paraffin wax sounds, it does have some drawbacks which normally keeps me away from candles that has paraffin. The main reason being it's 100% byproduct of the petroleum industry and not renewable or biodegradable. If you don't agree with me on anything else when it comes to paraffin, you have to understand no matter the grade or quality of paraffin, it's still a byproduct of the petroleum industry. This in turn means the production of paraffin wax contributes to the demand of crude oil. In addition, when burning paraffin wax candles, it could lead to a release of chemicals that can cause indoor air pollution. This risk increases with a candle that isn't properly maintained, which is why the better the quality of the paraffin, the better. I'm not trying to sound like an economic activist, but I am someone who suffers from migraines, and I think I lived with myself long enough to know that my migraines are more triggered when burning paraffin wax candles, which is why I try to stay away from them as much as possible, or at the very least, use them with my candle warmer. I know this isn't the case for everyone, but it is for me, unfortunately. Proper maintenance is a must with any candle, but it's especially important with paraffin candles in order to avoid excessive soot and smoke. Paraffin wax definitely has great advantages, but it's also important to be informed about its potential risks. If this is a concern for you, as it is for me, you may want to consider other wax options with a more sustainable focus, like soy wax. Developed in 1991 by a candle maker, Michael Richards, soy was produced as a more affordable alternative to beeswax and a more environmentally alternative to paraffin. Soy wax is a fairly recent invention that was an answer to growing demands for natural waxes that were more sustainable. Scented candles as a whole didn't become popular until the 1990s, so thinking about it, the candle industry is theoretically still in its beginning stages compared to other industries. The development of paraffin and soy were at the forefront of this movement, and it allowed candle makers more flexibility in creating a wide range of candles, mainly scented candles. When it comes to soy wax, it's a plant-based wax derived from soybean oil that is hydrogenated into solid wax. This is a process where soybeans are cleaned, cracked, dehulled, and rolled into flakes so they are ready for oil extraction. It is then further refined to improve its qualities for things such as shelf life and the melting point. Soy wax tends to have a softer texture compared to other wax types, which leads to a lower melting point. It's definitely more of a delicate wax to work with. Some candle makers may find it more difficult. This is also why you would see natural pitting with 100% soy wax candles. The molecular structure of soy wax causes it to solidify unevenly as it cools. Because of its lower melting point, soy wax candles tend to burn slower than other wax types and helping it last longer. It's also a very clean burning wax since soy is plant-derived. This is a wax type that's non-toxic, renewable, and biodegradable while having less of a chance for excessive soot and smoke. This is also a great option for candle lovers with allergies or respiratory issues. All the benefits of beeswax, but at a more cost-effective price point, as soy is a readily available material. With all of these great benefits, soy wax as it pertains to the candle industry has its downsides as well. When it comes to these corporations, you better believe there will be some loopholes in how they market to consumers. The use of the word natural is often overused in the candle industry to market soy wax candles. This can sometimes be misleading as soybeans are natural, but the process they use to turn them into wax may not be. The same can be said for 100% soy wax candles. This can also be misleading in marketing as the production process may contain additives to push for a better quality candle. Another big drawback with soy wax is that the production for many soybeans are grown using pesticides and herbicides, which in turn often lead to environment pollution, and small particles can sometimes make their way into the final production of the soy wax. Again, not trying to come off as an environmental activist, but the more we know as consumers, we can make better informed purchasing decisions. I also want to mention, this is not for all soy wax candles. Some candle brands really make it a point to let you know where and how they're sourcing their soy wax. Visiting your local farmers markets is a phenomenal way to get great quality soy wax candles, and it's a great way to support local businesses as well. I'm not going to name every candle brand from my collection, but some bigger candle houses I can think of that I know for a fact use soy wax without any doubts. PF Candle Co., 228 Grant Street, Meadowland, Reesefields NYC, I know they use 100% soy wax. And Boy Smells, of course, with their wax blend of soy, beeswax, and coconut. Oh, there's also Asta de Vlad that has that beautiful blend of mostly soy with a touch of beeswax. Speaking of wax blends, it's also very common to see soy blended with coconut wax. When it comes to coconut wax, it's been used for many purposes throughout history, mainly as a source of light by making torches and lamps to light homes. Fast forward to the world we live in today, coconut wax is primarily used for candle making. It surged in popularity as more people wanted a sustainable alternative to paraffin wax. I guess you can say coconut wax and soy wax are the two wax types leading the way for sustainable candle making. They both gained popularity in the 1990s and showed no signs of slowing down. It's also difficult to find pure coconut wax candles due to the fact that coconut wax is known to be difficult to work with and sometimes unstable. I typically always find it blended with other waxes, such as soy or beeswax. This improves the quality of the candle significantly as it provides a better burn and scent. Coconut wax is such an incredible wax for candles, definitely up there with beeswax in terms of its beneficial qualities compared to its downsides, which is very minimal. Compared to soy and paraffin wax, coconut wax is known to be one of the most eco-friendly waxes. There are virtually no harmful chemicals when burning, as it's made from an organic, biodegradable, and renewable substance. Since coconut wax is made from coconuts, which is grown on trees, they aren't sprayed with any pesticides, which ensures a very clean burning experience. And it gets better. Coconut wax is deforestation free since it doesn't involve mass production. For sure, one of the better sustainable wax options, but there are some downsides to coconut wax. The biggest downside is how coconut wax candles are marketed to consumers. Just like soy wax candles, coconut wax candles suffer from the same, I guess, dishonesty with sometimes being labeled as natural when in fact it's blended with paraffin. Just because coconut is one of the waxes used, they will slap a natural label on it. Again, this is not speaking about every brand that uses coconut wax. Just be aware this isn't the case for the coconut candles you intend to purchase. There are a few brands that come to mind that utilize coconut wax very well. Territory candles are 100% coconut wax and they are outstanding. Like I said, it's very difficult to come across 100% pure coconut wax candles. Loam Candle uses a blend of coconut wax and soy wax. Another outstanding candle brand that will make an appearance very soon. Make sure you're subscribed to see. Throughout the entire candle industry, you will more than likely notice that most candles are made using soy, paraffin, or coconut wax, or a combination of any of these waxes for better stability, scent, and performance. These are the waxes I mainly wanted to cover in detail today. There are some other uncommon wax types that aren't as known or widely used in candle making, like rapeseed wax, apricot wax, and biodegradable botanical wax. I'm looking forward to see if they become more popular alongside these other sustainable options. There's palm wax as well, which is also very uncommon, but in all honesty, I would just stay away from that wax type altogether. I've learned that the production of palm wax or palm oil is an ethical slippery slope, to say the least. Candle wax in general is a very touchy subject. Everyone will have their preference, But it's a personal choice that shouldn't be influenced by anyone. The purpose of this conversation was to go into details about the pros and cons of the most popular wax types we encounter on a daily basis, ultimately helping to make better informed purchasing decisions. The more you know.